Yeah, this is Point Black. Coming in hard and off the car. Coming with the flow straight from the barrio. And coming with the heat from the damn street. This is PBNN Point Black National News, the latest and great edition and the ghetto edition as well. Because this is what we must do. You know what I'm saying? Now, today we coming in, with the facts, the crackbacks, and the heat from the street, and the blue bit to the line as lips, of course. You know what I'm saying? But today we coming in with, an apology, because today is, the day when Point Black has made a mistake. You see, and that's the good thing about living. You live to make mistakes, but you also live to correct them and make them right. This is something we look for in our nation. You know what I'm saying? And where the wrong came in was the comment that I made about Mr. Wesley, I think his name is Wesley Hunt. He grills the FBI weary. Now, the reason why I got upset and went off on calling his name or whatever the situation may be was because he was saying that creepy ass little Biden, Hunter Biden, is the glitter. He's more like, a blip, in our society. And even up there at the top. Riding on his father's ticket. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we're looking at a situation where we're going to run down and we're going to actually listen to the whole thing, which I didn't do. That's where I'm wrong, of accusing him of being this or that. So this deep apology goes out to the warrior himself, Mr. Wesley Hunt. You know what I'm saying? Putting down that fight and doing it right. You know what I'm saying? Again, my deep apology goes out for jumping on too quick. But like I said, and I'll say it again, this is where Point Black shows the reality of things. Because anybody, you know what I'm saying, can get it wrong. No one is always 100% right. You know what I'm saying? There is times where we get it wrong. But that's a part of being a human, you see. You know what I'm saying? Because when you get it wrong, you now have a chance to make it right. And that is more important than anything else, especially when it comes to our people who is in there putting in that good fight. You know what I'm saying? But again, the confusion came in because of the fact of not listening to what this warrior was saying. But today, we will do so. So, without further ado, let's listen to Mr. Wesley Hunt and how he's dropping it in all ways. Remember, Mr. Wesley Hunt, I apologize because I do not care for creepy Joe Biden or Hunter dumbass Biden with their crooked behind. And I thought in listening to you in the beginning, being so upset and a little up in attitude, I decide to once again. So today we're gonna listen to what Mr. Wesley had to truly say, and listen to the way he lays it down. You know what I mean? Because it's important that we do so. You know what I'm saying? It's very important that we do this type of work and looking at what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? So without further ado, here we go.
That 37% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly
This is Mr.
Right
Wesley
media
Hunt.
propaganda, and I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda, and I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If 37% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda, and I think I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If you are a Trump, you'll be prosecuted. If you are a Biden, you'll be protected. And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tiered justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI, and as we were talking earlier, here we are again. President Trump endured an unprecedented raid at his home in Mar-a-Lago. President Biden's home, however, was respectfully browsed. President Trump is facing up to 400 years in federal prison for allegedly being in possession of classified documents he obtained as the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. And meanwhile, President Biden is facing no charges for the classified documents he had held at his time as a senator and a vice president, not the president of these United States of America. And last I checked, he had no legal authority to declassify those documents. Assuming President Trump was in possession of said classified documents, would those documents be more secure, surrounded by Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago, or in a box, in a garage, behind your Corvette? I know the answer to that question. Question for you, sir. What can you tell us about the status of the FBI's investigation of President Biden's classified documents found next to his Corvette in Delaware and those found at the Penn Biden Center? Do we have an update on that, sir?
What I can tell you is that there is an ongoing special counsel investigation led by Mr. Robert Hur, and we have FBI agents affiliated with it, working on it, working very actively and aggressively with him on that case. I obviously disagree with your description of the two standards. In my view, at least under my watch, we have one standard, and that is we're going to pursue the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it. And I add that last part because especially in sensitive investigations, almost by definition, somebody's not going to like it.
So I understand, and that's actually why I led with the sentiment of the American people. I understand that's your sentiment. I do want to finish this. So I want everybody to talk about this dichotomy that we have seen. I get your point, sir, but that's just not what we see as the public, as we the people. We see one case being fast-tracked and one case being slow-walked. We see one president's home being raided, the other president's home being kindly searched. You have one government agency, the Secret Service, protecting the former president and his home, and another government agency, the FBI, raiding the same home. Now, to me, sir, that's tragically ironic. And we expect more from a functional constitutional republic, and these things shouldn't be happening. Now, it's my opinion that Joe Biden is the most unpopular president we have seen in a century, and that's why he knows the only way to stop President Trump from beating him in November is by putting him in jail. You talked about this, Mr. Fry. In the 247 years of this existence of this great nation, only one president has ever been indicted by the DOJ and is home raided by the FBI. Now, some have said that President Trump's indictment means that no one is above the law. Okay, all right, I would love to see that. But what about Hillary Clinton? And what about Joe Biden? And what about Hunter Biden, who is America's favorite son? And let me tell you something, I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter at my house. Hunter Biden to me is like glitter. He is on everything and you cannot get rid of him. And yet nothing is going to be done about this. We're sick of it. James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. 6 months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. 6 months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. They expect equal justice under the law. It is not the job of the DOJ or the FBI to prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent, who is leading in every single primary poll, and the Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Let the people decide. It's our job to uphold the Constitution. As a West Point grad and military veteran, this is the Constitution I'm giving my life to protect, and I expect us all to uphold it likewise. Thank you so much for being here.
Mr. Chairman, Matt.
Well, the part that I had got out with him because I had seen only a clip, and the clip was the part when he was talking about the glitter of creepy little Biden. You know what I'm saying? But now we have it in full bloom as to what he really said, you know what I'm saying, in his fullness. And see, this is where I was hasty and made my mistake. And I apologize to Mr. Wesley Hunt, because he dropped that solidly, firmly, and straight down the pipe. You can't get it no better than Mr. Wesley Hunt, the champion, the warrior, in the fight for true justice. You know what I'm saying? Everything he said is 100%. And there is no other way around it. You know what I'm saying? They want to try to slide and glide, but that's what it is. Same as that we have with, listen to this. We have another issue where people were listening to this clown bucket dickwad, but when you look at his whole persona during the pandemic, he had no power, should have had no power, and should have not. You know what I'm saying? Biden reinstated him in a position that he never was to be reinstated into. The position that he reinstated as his disease and allergy expert, he didn't have legitimacy on that position. And even though he went ahead and pushed forward, you know what I'm saying, while Trump was in office, pushed this scheme right down the pipe. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen to a little bit.
I was not able to chew. That's just how
let's listen
they
to
were.
a little bit of let's listen to a little bit of the situation, and we're gonna find out what really is going on. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna find out what is really going on when it comes down to Andy Fauci, the killer weasel, and what he has done. So here we go.
Well, good afternoon. We're all members of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and we're here today because HHS Secretary Becerra has failed to follow the Constitution and the law. There's been a complete breakdown of accountability at the agency that has lost the trust of the American people, especially during COVID-19. 14 NIH officials, including Dr. Fauci, held unlawful positions and exercised authority that they didn't have, which included approving $26 billion in grants. This is unprecedented, and it calls into question the validity of every decision that these officials have made since December 2021 to June.
Now, they're saying that they held unlawful positions. You know what I'm saying? This is a House Energy Committee Republican claim the HHS Secretary, Xavier Rebecca, you know what I'm saying, has unlawfully appointed the NHS, you know what I'm saying, unlawfully appointed the NHS, which has to do with Dr. Nutcase ass Fauci and all these different idiots, you know what I'm saying, in this bullshit. And this is what we're looking at here, where they're going to explain it.
2023, including Dr. Fauci's awarding a new grant to EcoHealth Alliance, which is, but what is even more egregious has been Health and Human Services cover-up. For more than a year, the administration has misled our committee throughout this investigation, and our question has been a pretty simple one. Can you show us the documents that Secretary Becerra followed the Constitution and the law in reappointing these 14 senior officials who exercised immense power and authority? The question, can you show us the documents? And we're still waiting. There needs to be accountability. No one is above the law. Americans need to know that their tax dollars are being spent responsibly, effectively, and lawfully, and that the people making these decisions are lawfully authorized to make them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the chairman of the Oversight and Investigations Subcommittee, Morgan Griffith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I adopt all the things that Chairwoman Rogers just said. But let me say this. This is very frustrating. It is typical of the Biden administration not to follow the rules, not to pay attention to the law. This law was put in as a good governance section. The reappointment of these agency heads was put in as a good government section of 21st Century Cures. And the idea was, let's take a look at various bureaucrats and make sure that if they're being reappointed, and not reappointed as a matter of course, and not reappointed by somebody below the secretary, but reappointed by the secretary. And he didn't do it. And we didn't see any evidence of it, so we wrote a letter 16 months ago and said, hey, what's going on? These people don't appear to have been reappointed. And they've basically played a shell game since then until a couple of weeks ago, saying, oh, it's all right, everything's okay, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, it's all fine. And then suddenly, eventually they must have gotten around to realizing they were in violation of the law, and so they tried to do it retroactively. But everything, as the chairwoman said, from the end of December of 2021 until about 2 weeks ago, is now called into question. Every programmatic decision, every policy decision, and every grant award has question marks around it now, and I suspect the American taxpayers are going to pay millions of dollars defending lawsuits from various groups and various organizations that think they were either done wrong or they didn't like the policies that came out during that time period, because now it's clear that the administration and Secretary Becerra did not follow the clear meaning, the clear wording of the law. And unfortunately, this administration continues to do that, and it needs to stop. And that's part of why we have Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, so we can find out what's going wrong and try to get it fixed and try to make sure this doesn't happen again. And that's why getting the word out so that the administration knows this is not the way to run the shop. And we got to get it right. And I will now introduce my colleague who's been working on this with me. Brett Guthrie is chair of the Health Subcommittee. Thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for your work and the chair's work and the committee's work. But for more than a year, Dr. Fauci, a highly paid public employee at the time, served unlawfully and without proper appointment. It was during this period he awarded a new grant to EcoHealth Alliance and serves as the chief medical advisor to President Biden's COVID-19 response team. In this role as top COVID advisor, he used his position to recommend mandates. It is unfair to the American people that while he held this position unlawfully, he used his platform to be the voice of science and shame those who with alternative point of views, in addition to push for questionable public health guidance policies. This is a complete breakdown of accountability at an agency that has lost the American people's trust, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. This also calls into question every decision each one of these 14 individuals made during the time. Greater accountability is needed. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And just before we move to the Q&A, I wanted to address HHS's latest statement on their failure to follow the law, because they've changed their story many times, and their latest defense is also not true. So they are referencing an entirely different process, what is called Title 42 special consultants. And this is different than what we are talking about as far as the requirement for the reappointment or the appointment of IC directors. IC directors require the Secretary's approval, and HHS should know the difference, and they can't hide behind this claim. But it's after a year-long investigation that we've not seen the evidence that the administration We've not seen evidence that other administrations, so they're claiming right now that other administrations have failed to follow this reappointment process. We do not see that evidence. They are conflating. There's two issues. There's the Title 42 special consultants, and then there is the process of appointing or reappointing the IC directors. And we wouldn't be here today if the administration had come clean in March of 2022, recognizing that they needed to get right with the law. So with that, I'll ask or answer some questions. Yes.
What kind of
And there you have it. You know what I'm saying? There you have it. One time for your mind.